Hello everybody and welcome back to day 3 of Mental Health Awareness Week 2020. I'm very lucky today to be joined by the Community Rescue Service Regional Commander, Sean McCarry. Hello Sean.
Hey Yasmin, hello everybody.
So thank you very much for agreeing to come and speak to me. Obviously the Community Rescue Service is something that most people know about, but I just kind of wanted to be able to delve a little bit deeper and maybe share a few things that people may not know and get some advice from yourself around kindness and around how important Mental Health Awareness Week is to everybody. So you are currently in your home office, and how has the Community Rescue Service kind of adapted? Nothing's changed really with the outbreak that's going on at the moment.
Yasmin, it's really difficult for us and the type of work we do to socially distance, for want of a better word, but we have split our teams down into smaller groups, even within, for example, the Coleraine team or the Belfast team, where there might be 30 members, search technicians. We've managed to split them down into maybe 3 teams within the team and keeping them separate and traveling in different vehicles. So we've all had to adopt to these trying times, but it's really important that we all remain positive and say, well, you know what, no matter what, we can get through this. We can make the changes, and we've done that just like everybody else.
Perfect, but you're still out, you're still going, you're still helping the community, you're still looking for those who are missing and vulnerable. Everything is still fully operational.
Absolutely, and not only that, we've had some additional things we've had to do. Not only do we have to look for the vulnerable and those who are, feeling a crisis in their life at that moment in time and need to get away, but also maybe putting themselves in danger while they're doing that, which is the main role that we carry out. We've also been delivering face shields, for example, to NHS and other key workers on behalf of a charity, and we've delivered. We did in 2 weeks. We delivered 100,000 face shields. So that was a massive thing for us, and we used all our resources, and we'll be talking about those later on, but all the different resources that the Community Rescue Service has and its personnel, whilst also being on standby and responding to our core business, which is the high risk missing persons within Northern Ireland.
Of course, like yourself, I founded the trust due to personal reasons, and you're also the founder of the Community Rescue Service. And I don't think that many people know, when did it start? Like, what year did it start, and how did it really come about? And obviously, it's a very, very large organisation now, 100% voluntary, and plays such a vital role in terms of helping others. So, what was really the beginnings of the Community Rescue Service?
Well, I mean, the Community Rescue Service was formed in Coleraine, of all places, and we always were very proud of that. And I don't like them to get too into that, and sometimes when there's a bit of rivalry among the different teams. But we were formed in Coleraine 2007. I've been in search and rescue for over 40 years. Back then, I was involved with other search and rescue organisations, but I was just retiring out of one role. And it became very evident at one incident where a young man unfortunately lost his life in Coleraine. He was taking his own life, but he lost his life, and there was reasons why that didn't necessarily need to happen. There was the right resources, the right things weren't happening at the right time, and following on from that, I had conversations with senior police and others and said, look, we need to do something about this, and I was encouraged and went on to form the Community Rescue Service, which is actually, if you think about it, the Community Rescue Service is the name of the organisation, but we're the lowland rescue teams. Yes. Of all of Northern Ireland. So you've got mountain rescue, which is 2,000 feet and up. You've got cave rescue, which is down under the ground, and then you've got lowland rescue, the bit in between. And throughout the whole of the UK and Ireland, this is a structure. But within Northern Ireland, we didn't have that structure for 30-something years because of the troubles we had and the community disruption we had. So as a result of that, there was a massive gap there, which was whenever the police started to come back to normality in numbers and the military were no longer available in Northern Ireland, we had a situation where anybody went missing during the troubles was mostly because of the troubles. And then afterwards, as the years built up in the last 10 years of the trouble, it became very apparent to police and others, and like myself, that there was an awful lot of mental health issues and suicides and etc. and preventable stuff. If we had more resources, of course, the resources needed to be appropriate, and it needed to be the same as elsewhere. The tried and tested 40 years of lowland rescue, mountain rescue, and things like that. So lowland rescue became formed through the Community Rescue Service in 2007, and officially, if I was to tell you the month, it was October 2007.
Wow. No, I think that the gap that you actually provide really, really does make a difference to a lot of people. Obviously, within my field work with mental health, I come into contact with a lot of people who have been missing persons, and you have went out and you have been able to actually bring them home to safety. But other than searches for missing people, like what other service? I know you touched on the face shields, and I was going to bring that up, but 100,000. But I know a couple different areas that the community rescue service does within Northern Ireland. But do you just want to expand on that, because it's really interesting. The first time I heard it about all the different areas that you actually do that people might actually not know about, because I didn't know about them.
Well, of course, and within the remit of lowland rescue, you've got to cover land, water. You've got to be able to go anywhere really within that. And we do, from, as I say, from hill to high water. That's one of the sayings: hill to high water. Speed equals survivability. So we've got to be able to get out there quickly and accurately and full of information. So we've got a great network, as you say. We've over 280 volunteers now. We've got lots of equipment, and which has all been funded by public donation and by fundraising through our volunteers. And we're very, very grateful to anybody who's watching this who may have helped us, and those who are not, for that. And so is the community. So those in need, very, very grateful. Our resources, allow us to provide other services, and our job really is to deal with any crisis in the community. So a crisis could be anything from extremes of weather to flooding. It could be any kind of thing that's out there. But the biggest crisis that we have, as you know, is the challenge, the mental health challenge. The weather comes and goes, the other things go, but continually, in Northern Ireland particularly, we have got a major mental health challenge. And that challenge is evident to all of us that are probably listening to this, but that everybody else now is aware of it. For years, people weren't as aware of how much it was. We've lost 10 times the number of people to our mental health challenge in the past 10 years that we would have done if the troubles still continued on. And everybody would have been going, oh, this is crazy that people are shooting and bombing and all the rest of it. But it's also crazy that we're losing so many people. And our job is intervention, prevention, and postvention. We're not counsellors by any means, but if people slip through or miss or don't even go for help, we're the last line of defence. They're the front line in that sense, and we have to be there to try and solve it. So we've got lots of resources to allow us to do that, from boats to vehicles to motorcycles to all those things. So we supply other services that we can help with because we have those resources. And one of the ones that people maybe don't understand, apart from searching for missing persons, searching from those who are not necessarily suffering because of mental health issues but get lost for other reasons, responding to boats in trouble in areas that we cover, are dealing with accidental issues where people fall into water or get lost, even to dogs who get trapped. We've done that sort of work because the person themselves will put themselves into risk to try and save their dog, and that's really important. And dogs to us are just part of the family. And so
mine just barked, actually.
Yeah, and it's part of your family, and you'll understand that it's essential that people get the help whenever, whether it's a family member of any kind, including their dog or cat. So we'll respond to those things, but in the main, it's to people who are in desperate need, or in the middle of crisis, and their families in the middle of crisis. And as I say, we'll go there with their boats, with our motorcycles, or 4x4 vehicles. But the most important asset that we have, and our search dogs, of course, and our most important asset we have is actually our people. Our highly trained technicians are the most important thing. So we do water rescue, flood response. We do emergency. We do the blood bike transportation for Northern Ireland, and we also do, which is really important. I think some people will like to hear this. We deliver and collect the baby milk, the human baby milk that's donated by mothers for other mothers, where it goes and be pasteurised down in Enniskillen, and we deliver that all over as well through a network and right across the whole of Ireland through the motorcycle network that is emergency bikes. So lots of that goes on, and that's again where we were able to deliver 100,000 face shields to vital frontline workers and doctors, nurses, everybody else over a period of a couple of weeks.
It was the infant milk and the blood bikes, that I never knew. All I ever associated was missing people and finding vulnerable people, and I never really knew that community rescue service, that's what it is. It's like anything, and it's about rescuing at those in crisis. And again, like I'm in the area of mental health, but it doesn't necessarily mean that someone's got a mental health crisis whenever they come to me. sometimes, you know, there's something else that is going on that is a little bit easier fixed than what they first perceived, but they were still in a crisis and they still turned to me. So again, it's about, well, really your own sense of crisis is something that you respond to, and it's in different areas than what people may think who aren't a part of it and, you know, don't know much about it. I think it's very important. But you conduct searches for many different reasons. I know that there's dementia patients and stuff as well as those who are mentally ill. But sometimes the reason is due to the escalation of a mental health illness. Before they get to that stage, what's your view on the help that's currently available through different services across the board for those who are in need? Now, I've asked this to all of the people that I am talking to this week, and obviously it is a personal view, but in terms of the Northern Ireland situation we've got at the moment with the mental health epidemic that we are currently going through, do you have any views on, maybe before the person gets to that stage, of your own experience with vulnerable people? Do you have any sort of view on the mental health services, or what gaps need to be filled at this current moment in time?
Yeah, very much so. I was to anybody out there, right? I'm very proud of the organization that I formed and others have helped me develop, but I want you to put us out of business.
Yeah.
We want to go away. We don't want to be needed for any reason whatsoever, other than the snows or something like that. I'm happy to do those ones. But when it comes to the challenges that we have in mental health, and of course we'll happy to do dementia patients and the people with Alzheimer's, because that's until they get a cure for that. We hope that will go away as well. But you see, when it comes to the mental health side of things, we all need to work together to try and put people like us out of business in that end of the business. And in the process of developing a community rescue service and dealing with these crises that come in people's lives, we have a number of different things we see. We see people who have got a moment of crisis that happens very, very quickly, circumstantial, I would call it. The circumstances overwhelm them and they become suicidal or depressed, or even depressed without it. They have a mental health challenge because our brain can only take so much, and it overloads at that moment in time. And we get people who are reactive and people who do the wrong, and they don't get a chance, and others who get through it and take a chance. So we've got people there. We've got a means to teach people to deal with it themselves, first of all, to deal with them, that initial crisis they have themselves, to try and take care of the anxiety, the negative, the anxiety, the panic attacks, etc., that lead to other things, which is where it all starts off. A lot of it starts off. Then we've got people that, apart from that circumstantial depression, I see people that have got chronic depression where it's gone on for a lifetime, it's gone on a long time, and it's brought about by chemical imbalances, it's been brought about other things. But unfortunately, we can all look at it and say, after as well, that probably done it, this probably caused the issue. But during the moment of crisis for that person, they don't have an answer to that. And sometimes the only answer, no matter where the circumstantial or chronic or whatever it happens to be, the only thing they can see, only thing people can see at that moment is, I need to take an action here. I need to take control of my life. And everything I see out there is about lots and lots of really good organizations working together to try and actually make sure that there are no gaps. Are there gaps? Of course there are. There were gaps in the search and rescue work before we started, and people didn't really see it. We have to continually look, I believe, and be actively looking for where we can close those gaps, encourage others who are already there to expand their services, or, if necessary, work alongside them to provide other services. And that's where we fit in nicely in the whole process. Safe places for people. You know, I notice when we get someone who is absolutely distressed or feels that there's no option, and we manage to get to them and they're still alive, what are we asked to do with them then? What do us and the police then do with that person? And I think we need something more that 3 o'clock in the morning than an accident and emergency department where they're trying to do their best or something else. So there are things that I hope that the next strategy, the current strategy on mental health, will address. I would really like our organization to be involved in some of that, because we could have fed in a lot of things about what we find leads on to the person and not getting the help they need. But in the absence of that, I'm really hopeful that what I'm seeing out there, what I see, the support, the care that comes from all sorts of sources, if we can just continue to unite that. And maybe you've seen yourself, Yasmin, in some parts of England and elsewhere, and I think even we're trying to put together groupings now of different organisations.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you and I here doing this here together, and others that maybe listening to this, we need to all get together, and we need to make sure that instead of having too much protectionism, which is a big problem in Northern Ireland, where we all want to keep our own little thing, we want to be able to say, look, actually, if you can do this better than I can, please do it.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody please do it. I think that's the most important thing.
No, I think that what a lot of people don't know is the trust we do 24/7, like crisis intervention and stuff as well. And there was 2 periods in 2019 whenever the search and rescue was involved in a search and the person was brought to A&E, and it was early hours of the morning. Then I was called and I then went to A&E, and I was the person that then sat with that individual until they were seen by the crisis intervention team in the morning, because their family contacted me. It wasn't like a procedure through the PSNI or anything like that. But yes, I fully agree with you in terms of people actually coming together. That's why I wanted to put together this, and that's why I give talks and presentations for other groups as well, to show that we are not going to be able to fill all those gaps by ourselves. In order to do that, like I've got 4 volunteers, you've got over 200, you know, you could have over 200 plus 4, you know, and even those 4 volunteers, you know, they could help in different ways. And it's the same with all different community organizations. I think that the only way that we're going to be able to like make an impact in terms of filling the gaps with mental health needs is by coming together. I don't think that one can just do it by themselves. At the end of the day, we're only people. But
Isn't that why we're having this very nice conversation this morning, Yasmin?
But the CRS is 100% like voluntary based, and sometimes outcome is not always positive during searches, which can have an emotional effect on volunteers. And we were talking before this, and obviously I don't want to miss out the fact that obviously it would have an emotional effect on anybody, whether or not they're paid or whether or not they are a volunteer. But how do you deal with that personal, that particular circumstance?
Yeah, and you're right. We are 100% volunteer, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I do think that because you're volunteer, you're more vulnerable. Matter of fact, and you were very right in what you said. These types of jobs that we do sometimes have got an impact on you, whether we're getting paid a fortune or not. We always say 100% professional, 100% voluntary. Yeah. Professional is what we do. The point you're making is really good. For us, I think how we manage with this is that every person we go out to look for, we find. We have a 100% record. What would really, really have an impact on us negatively would be if we didn't find the person and it continued on and continued on and continued on. We disappointed the family, or the family were left without a resolution. Mm-hmm. In our case, everybody we go looking for, in 2019, 410 paid persons. We found 410 high-risk missing persons. We didn't find 411, or there were some questions asked, but we found 410, and out of that 410 is just under 10% of them would be unfortunately deceased. Yeah. On every case, we look at every case to see, could we respond any quicker? Was there something in the information flow? And every single case, and I can talk about 2019, our response would have made no difference. We were not slow. We weren't, but the police's response wouldn't make a difference. Matter of fact, whenever we were being informed about the missing person, medical evidence showed that missing person had already taken their own life, and those under 10% of the cases. But the most important thing about it is that person is then found and brought back to their family. And I have to say, because we can no longer change that outcome, the only outcome we can then change is the outcome and the impact on the family. And there is absolutely nothing worse than losing your loved one, other than losing your loved one and never finding them again. That's the only thing that adds to that loss, is not being able to ever know where they were or find them again. So our job starts looking for them. Both positively, we approach everyone that the person's alive, we're going to see them, we're going to get them back. And then we conclude everyone by making sure we find the missing person. For us, dealing with it mentally, and our volunteers in it mentally, it's really, really important that we know that the job is to find the missing person and reunite them with their family. The outcome is very important, but only if we have an impact on that. That's the right way to it. And if we don't have an impact or an input in that, and we just have to have input in finding the missing person. So dealing with it mentally becomes a really, really much more safer and a much more easier if you know that you've done what you set out to do and achieved what was meant to happen, and it has helped the family, even though it's a sad outcome.
Yeah, I think that coming from a person whose family member has went missing, I know what it's like to watch the clock go round and to go out and search and stuff as well. But I know what it's like to look at that clock, and you get to a point where you're like, just get him home, you know, and like, it becomes that then. It's like, I just want him home now. And I can't imagine what it would be like for them to never come home. And I think that that is the worst case scenario. But again, with people like yourselves and the organisation like the Community Rescue Service, that likelihood is so small that the person will never be found again, that, you know, it offers some comfort at the fact of, we're going to get them home. And I think that it's really, really important that people share the stories of the positive outcomes as well. And like you mentioned there, you have a 90% positive recovery rate of that person is still there. I think that sometimes we can be very much focused on the negative, and that's all that we look for. We look for that 10%, and that's what we focus in on.
Yeah, and if we're going to talk about percentages, Yasmin, I would say we have 100% recovery rate for those who are still alive when we go looking for them. It's 90% of those overall who we find, but it's 100% recovery of those who are still alive when we actually go looking for them. We've never had a case, and I'm really hopeful, and I don't do touch wood and stuff, but I pray to God above.
I do.
Well, I touch wood on this occasion, that we don't ever have a case where they were alive and we went looking for them and they died in the process. We don't want that ever to happen, and that's what drives us, is that drive to make sure that it stays 100%. If you are alive when we're told about you being missing, it is currently 100% that we will find you before you do something, and that is going to be the case. And you know, we don't. I think that the other thing is to say we're now also involved and have been involved for a number of years in historical missing persons. So because the pain goes on, and through that historical involvement, I see the devastation that is caused to families by not having their loved one back with them. You know, you need to find them. People have already accepted that their loved ones are gone and they're now deceased. We wouldn't have been involved in the search at the start, but we've now been, through police, become involved again. And these are cases that take us a long time. We're involved, I just can't name them to you, but I can tell you there's a number we're actively involved in as well that will hopefully bring at some stage, you know, peace and comfort and an answer to other families who have for years and years, long before we were set up, not been able to find out where their loved one was. So we know the importance of it. It's really, really important. And that also is what keeps us positive. To answer your original question, how do we cope with it? We cope with it because we can see and receive the thanks, but we can see the appreciation that comes from families, no matter what the outcome of the search was, as long as they get them back.
As long as they get them back, no, 100%. The theme for Mental Health Awareness Week for 2020 is all about kindness, a very appropriate topic for everyone within the Community Rescue Service, no matter what area of work that they're in, because I know that you've got a shop down in the middle of Korea and stuff, you've got people who man that shop and everything, you've got carol singers and stuff as well, but anybody who really commits their spare time to helping others, and that's what they have chosen to do. They've chosen to take time out of their sleep, take time out of spending time with their family, and also doing other hobbies to help others. But how important is kindness to others in your opinion, especially during the current times that we're experiencing?
Yeah, Yasmin, what a really good question, and what an appropriate one was the theme for Mental Health Awareness Week. Kindness to us is the core, the centre, the main backbone of what the Community Rescue Service is about. You know, people we see, and I see, and we've seen throughout the years, people getting their mental health damaged badly by people being unkind on social media, people being unkind to their families, people being not meaning to hurt people with the words that they say, and so we start off with kind words, and I think kind words is really, really a good place to start off. So if you take your own life and I take mine, I think about, let's just be kind to each other, and then let's be kind to those that we deal with in our day-to-day bit of business. Look after our families, look after ourselves, and expect a kindness back in return. I often have to deliver some fairly strong messages, and if I don't think something's been done right or something's been done the other way, I don't think you have to do it without kindness. I think you can deliver any message you want to anyone, but if you just stop and think about, can I do this in a kindly way and with some sort of care? And because if you're not showing kindness, you also are not showing care. And the lack of care and the feeling that people haven't anybody caring or care about them comes from, I would have to say, the fact that they need some kindness shown to them. And when we often meet and get and find people who we often have to talk to, we're the first people to come across them. I go up in to speak to them. I often have the privilege of speaking to people, and it's a privilege. I often, to be able to allow them to talk to me if they want to, or to speak to me before we gently try to take them from wherever they are back to their families or back to a place of safety. And the first principle is always, they have to understand that you're being kind, that there's a kindness there, that there's a care there, and that somebody actually does care. That is your kindness and how you're speaking to them. So what a theme. I think it's fantastic. We have the most wonderful bunch of volunteers, like I'm sure you do, and everybody has. And what I see in every one of them is they're kind. They show kindness. And whoever thought of that as a theme for Mental Health Awareness Week 2020 certainly, in my opinion, hit the exact word they should have.
But for those people who are outside looking in, obviously Mental Health Awareness Week actually attracts those who wouldn't have a theme of mental health within their family, within their life, and that's the importance of it, is being able to reach those people who are most likely unreachable on a normal basis, and just kind of let them know that it can affect everyone. But the theme itself, I think a lot of people thought, oh, it's about like just being kind to people and just like holding a door open, but it's actually it's about something that you touched on there in the beginning as well. It's about what your unkindness can do to another person.
Yeah.
That's what it's about what unkindness can have an effect on the mental health of another person, and
the unawareness that people have sometimes about the wrong word in the wrong place, the wrong thing said, and actually the damage that it does to young people, it does to older people, it does to, I think we need a bit of care along with kindness. The care we need to take is that we deliver kindness, but the care we also need is in what we're actually saying, how we look, how we appear to someone, how do we appear warm and approachable. I think of how many people still be alive in this world if they thought that somebody was approachable, somebody in their family, some friend or else, and we all think that we're approachable. I have to look at myself every day and say, you look like somebody would approach. And if you don't look that way, then you've got to actually then work very hard on making sure that you come across that way. And I have to say that I've learned so much through this. I wish I could share and pass on to everybody in this world just the difference that the right thing at the right time will do for them, or the right thing at the wrong time for someone who's in a place where they shouldn't be, or going to a place they shouldn't be. We see these messages that are put up on bridges and places, and those from strangers written can have an impact on someone who's just not where they should be. Think of how much more impact it could have if it comes from someone who they love or care about. And people get confused sometimes when they look at social media. I have founded an organization that does tremendous work with a fantastic group of people, and thought I was doing really well. And over the years, I've had serious amounts of abuse and negativity come across on social media and anything else. And these are common. And I always look at it, this stuff comes from people who are hurting themselves, who have got issues with their own, who've got problems going on. So for me to then go back at that would be not showing caring and kindness. And my kindness in it, I always turn it around and think to myself, you know what? I really, really, really sorry for these people. What they need from me is to me show some kindness, and I just don't respond to it. Yeah. But that's easy for me because I'm in a strong position at that moment in time. How devastating is some things like that? And I often think about this to a young, vulnerable young woman, or a young, vulnerable young man, or an older person on their own, or whatever it be. We need to be kinder, no doubt about that. And we need to be careful about what we're doing and the impact it would have, because there's no point in standing at someone's grave and saying, I wish I hadn't said that.
Yeah.
Too late. It's too late.
You touched on something really important and stuff as well that I don't think is spoken about very often, is that you've obviously found it an amazing organisation who does nothing but help others to bring their loved ones home, and provide, like you said, so many other services. And I have a mental health trust in aid of my brother who is there, who is no longer here, and my family and me work tirelessly, and we both get nasty things said, very unkind things said about us. I'm fortunate enough, we've only been going 2 years and I'm not subject to it very often, but it has happened. And I think that people who do get abuse needs to, and who are treated unkind online, need to realise that everybody does, no matter how much good you're projecting into the world. Everybody faces it at some point. And again, it really is about that person who's putting that across.
Yeah, we could easily react with hate. What I'm saying, it's much more important to react with love and caring, and it's very difficult to do that whenever you're being attacked. And if I would say to someone, if there's any young person out there sees this, for example, I've talked to, or anybody out there, let's not get an age into it. If you've received unkind words, or if you've received an unkind comment from one of your many thousands of friends on Facebook, and by the way, this is another bugbear for me.
Yeah, I know.
They're not friends, and this, I've seen so many people go into depression, and I try to take their own lives because they're not popular on Facebook. Just look around you and see, does your dog like you? Does your cat like you? Does your neighbor speak to you nicely? Do you speak to them nicely? I mean, don't go looking for it with strangers, because strangers don't get it. And even sometimes so-called friends, and this is the word that I think is wrong, but in another way that's a great example. 1,000 friends is impossible. My late mother said to me one time, Sean, if you ever have a true friend in life, you're lucky. If you ever have 2 true friends, you're more than lucky. And I'd have to say the same to you. There's friends and acquaintances, and there's family. Family are not perfect. Friends are not perfect. Acquaintances are not perfect. Nobody's perfect, including ourselves. Don't do yourself down for being imperfect. Don't allow others to do the same, because you're you, and you should just be you. And if you've got some struggles, talk to somebody. Find the true friend that you can talk to, and talk to them. And most of all, find that person that you can trust, and it'll not be somebody necessarily on Facebook. Don't react to what somebody who means nothing to you is about you, because they don't. And I don't mean that you don't care about the world, but they don't mean anything to you. And matter of fact, it's just a name at the end of a piece of long internet. What's more important is what you think about you. If you can get yourself to where you actually think, well, hold on here, I'm not perfect. And this is the thing that social media and media, all these TV programs try to portray: the perfect woman, the perfect man. You need to forget about that one. But to put perfectly honestly, because even those they portray are not perfect, and that has come out more and more, from royalty right through to politicians, to everybody. We're all human beings, and this, we're not designed to have this abuse go on all the time. So don't put yourself in a position where you get it. And just to finish on the thing we were doing, but here is really, really important that whenever we have got all our volunteers with the Community Rescue Service, these are not perfect people, and I'm not perfect. So what we have to do all the time is support each other. And that's the lovely thing about it. We support each other continuously. Hence the fact I could answer your question earlier on about how negative it is when you find somebody deceased. If we didn't have the support of that continued support, and my job is to continually make sure that everybody's focused on supporting each other and being kind to each other. Mm-hmm. That's the basis of what we do. That makes it successful. But it also makes sure that our people who are not perfect don't start to beat themselves up or beat each other up over the fact they're not perfect. All right, somebody drops a radio in the river, I'm devastated because it costs a lot of money. But I need to be kind in my response because they're equally devastated, and you don't want to compound this situation. It doesn't mean I have to walk behind a vehicle and stamp my feet a few times, but I'd rather do that behind the vehicle than in front of the person who's devastated at that moment in time. And that's just a small example of, you really do need to control what you say sometimes, especially if you're in a position where you can damage and injure or hurt somebody, it's going to have an impact on their life for the future. So look after yourselves and do not take everything that everybody says to hurt you even more. Cut that out and stick with things that make you feel better.
No, 100%. Like, and this has been such an enjoyable conversation with you. And lots of things I'm still learning about the community rescue service as well. Although I do have a partner that's in it, you know, there's still all these avenues that yous are covering that need more recognition and stuff. But obviously, it's one of those things where you're probably a little bit like the way that I am in terms of, well, it doesn't matter if I get recognition or not, I'm still just going to keep doing what I'm doing because I'm doing it to help people, you know, and that really does come across in yourself and everything that the community rescue service and stuff does. But before you go, for anyone that's suffering, I know that you've given us advice throughout here that hopefully will help a lot of people who are watching this week, but do you have any words of advice that you've learned throughout the years that you could project on just to end our session today?
Oh, absolutely. There was one comes to my mind immediately every time somebody says something like this. I would just say, and I hope somebody's watching this that needs to hear this. I have been there on many, many occasions when I'm at the point where something can't be turned back, where the person was ready to take their own life. I've seen the impact of it afterwards, and I've often seen that if that person could just for a moment project themselves into what their family and their friends are actually really going to go through and see and suffer from that moment where they believe that they're doing the right thing. It's not the right thing. I'm not criticizing you. It's actually not right for you. It's not right for your family. It's not right for your friends. And you can get the support and you can get the help. So what I have found, and it's reinforced to me over and over, is how much I appreciate the first breath I take every morning. I appreciate the fact that I'm waking up first thing in the morning, and the fact that I very much appreciate the fact that I get allowed to come into people's lives at the moment of crisis so I can help them. But those people need more than just me at that moment. They need everybody else out there, and every person, single person, to be kind, to be caring, to show them support. Not to say and insist, and this is one that came out and it was really, really important, that you might come on down here to the kitchen table and have dinner, whenever actually that person at that moment in time maybe just needs the space, the privacy of their own room, or the space of privacy of their own, wherever they've gone to, in their own safety of their own home. We can't make people be happy. We've got to allow them to work their way through it till they become happy. And we shouldn't make that unhappiness even worse by trying to make them become, as we see it, normal. Normal for that person at that moment in time is what they're going through. They will come back to rejoin the rest of those around them when they're ready with the right support. And that support sometimes is just a matter of saying, hold on, I'm not doing any good here by pointing out to them that they haven't got out of bed this morning. I'm not doing any good by pointing out to them that they're not going out there to the world and doing things. It's a beautiful day. Why are you not out walking? It's more likely to say that there's some other kind of kindness that can be shown there, because even though that appears that you're doing the right thing, that sometimes makes them even more and more suffering, cause more suffering, because it's reinforcing to them, I haven't got up, I haven't gone out, right? So be careful with your words. Don't be scared to ask for any help or assistance, and look for those who you can trust and rely on, not those you don't know, to be your friends.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure that the people watching this, will be really touched by everything that we've covered today. But I want to thank you, Sean McCarry, for coming on and speaking to me. So I hope that everybody has a fantastic Friday, and just thanks to Sean for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. If we ever do something, maybe we'll do it like face to face and stuff instead. But
we will get
thank you very much, and we'll just wait. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. Thank you.